The first session, it's a little bit personal for me because Arne started as a student at my company and started in search, and I think he learned the basics. Now he is lead product manager for search and discovery at OTTO, so I think he did quite well. And his talk today is named, you have to switch back. Precision and recall, I think, is the short version. And a warm welcome to Arne.
Wie wechsle ich denn den? Okay. Let's get started then. Thanks for the help. The topic of the talk today is precision versus recall. Actually, it will be more about precision than recall, and is a bit of the story of our transition from a pure lexical search towards a full hybrid search, which probably many of you did as well. During this journey, we stumbled upon the topic of precision a lot, and we had a lot of internal discussions about it, discussions about questions like, how do you optimize for precision? Which metrics are you using to measure your success when you optimize precision? And in the end, we started to talk about, should we optimize for precision at all? Is it worth it? But before I get into this, the mandatory who we are slide. OTTO is like a full-range marketplace, I think one of the biggest in Germany. We have like furniture, fashion, electronics, toys, you name it. And actually we have around a bit more than 18 million products in stock at the moment, around 13 million active customers, which leads to about 2 million search queries per day. So we are quite on a big scale. And I'm a product manager, so this is a non-technical talk most of the time. We have several product teams at OTTO, and I'm in search for around, the search game since more than 15 years. But let's get started. So, the story. We started to roll out hybrid search bit by bit. I guess the path we took is similar to the path many of you are taking now. I already took it as well. We started with like a zero results segment, enhanced it with semantic search results, looked like good in terms of conversion rates. So we moved on. The next target was something we called it like the low recall segment. That means queries that only have like less than 20 hits. And we enhanced it with semantic search results. Then we moved on to queries with lower than 100 results, then lower than 400. And bit by bit, we came to where we are now. And so now at the moment, every search result you can see on OTTO.de can possibly contain semantic search results when it makes sense. Every step in this journey, we did like A/B testing. So all in all, we achieved like more than 5% uplift in conversion rate, which is quite a lot of money on our scale, and we were quite happy. But then we noticed something on the user side. So we have some features to gather qualitative feedback from our users. And we noticed that more and more people complained about the precision. They are like comments like, hey, I searched for this. There are other products. Why is that? Is the search broken? This kind of stuff. And that kind of made sense to us because semantic search is mainly focused on recall, and we didn't really look at the precision at that time. Everything looked good from the conversion rates, and then we thought, okay, maybe now is the time to focus on precision to balance it out again. And then we started some interventions focusing on precision. This is just like 2 examples. We tried even more stuff, but just to make the point, our first or one of the biggest approaches was like a dynamic similarity threshold. So we were thinking on the semantic search, you need to decide when do you do the cutoff. We had something like that in place, but we didn't really optimize it. So we did some iterations to find the best kind of threshold. We used a static, like a combination of a static threshold and a query-specific threshold, and started to work on this, several iterations. It looked kind of good. The results got cleaner, but when we looked at our metrics, we didn't see any effect. And then we thought, okay, that's strange. Maybe is not the best approach to optimize like on a global scale. Let's dig deeper into like specific use cases. And that's the right box. So we thought when users enter like a very specific query, like iPhone 17 Pro Max, they probably expect also a very precise search result. So we did some query understanding to identify this kind of queries. And then we built a mechanism to make these search results like very precise. Did A/B tests, same result. We didn't move any of our metrics. And that made us think or made us wonder what's going on here. Is it like, are we working on the wrong topics? Are we looking at the wrong metrics? Is precision not important? What's going on? And then we jumped to one, we thought like the cleanest possible experiment you can make. And that is gender searches. Gender searches is defined for us as any search query which explicitly contains a gender term like man or woman. And we thought, okay, that segment is very easy to grasp. It's like you can basically use a regex or something. And since in our product data we have a target group gender field for every product, we had a very clear concept whether that is relevant or irrelevant. And then we thought, okay, we just filter it out. So when someone searched for Damen sneaker, women's sneaker, before we had like guy sneakers in the search result, and we just filtered them out. So it's like a pure women's product list. And we kind of were very sure that's like a super safe bet because it's nearly common sense to do that. We even discussed whether do we need to do an A/B test on this? This is so obvious. And we did. And that's the result. We didn't see anything again. We looked at the conversion rate, no impact, even a negative tendency, which made it even stranger. But then we thought about how to explain it and came to the point to say, okay, what's our hypothesis? Why would the conversion rate move anyway when we have unprecise search results? And we thought, okay, user irritation by these irrelevant products will lead to abandonment of the journey. So people stop searching, leave the shop. That's why we lose money. That hypothesis didn't hold. But we also thought, okay, maybe the irritation is not strong enough for people to leave the shop. Maybe it's just more annoying. Maybe they just need more effort to reach their goal. So we looked at some efficiency metrics. Filter usage, for example. We thought, as a user, when you see unprecise search results, you can use filters to get rid of this stuff. So we looked at the filter usage rate, no change. Then we looked at the scrolling depth because we thought, okay, users have to scroll further down to jump over the irrelevant products. But that also didn't change. We looked at the reformulation rate because we thought maybe they don't abandon the session completely, but at least they will try to enter another query to get a better result. Didn't change. So in the end, that was the point where we really started to doubt what's going on here. We were kind of lost. This is like a slide to give us, so that's the point where we were. In product management, we think in terms of output and outcome. Like a quick definition, output is basically everything you build, like the code you write, the feature you ship, all this stuff, but there is no user feedback included in the output definition. That's what we call the outcome. So whatever we do, we want to know what's the value for it. It goes through a chain of you change the user's behavior. They start acting different after you shipped something. And that will have a positive impact on your business in the best case. For recall, we kind of have the whole chain proven. We added like a semantic retrieval that led to more recall, that led to people buying more stuff, that led to more revenue. On precision, we got stuck on the output part. We built some features to improve precision. We looked at the search result and the precision got better, but we completely failed at showing any impact on the outcome side. We failed to see, we didn't see any change of the user behavior, which is like very strange. When you look at some research and papers, you can see the Walmart, I put it there. Walmart experienced something very similar. They also built something similar to our similarity score approach. And they found like a 5% precision uplift, but they also didn't find any impact on orders or GMV. So basically the same thing where we were stuck. And then we didn't give up. We are quite persistent. So we started to look at interaction data and the interaction data of the irrelevant products. And that's where things got really interesting. First, we looked at the gender search examples. So for the woman sneaker query, for example, we looked how did people interact with the guy sneaker in this search result. And we saw that people interacted with it. We thought that users clicked on it, which might be a mistake. But we also saw that they bought it, which also might be a mistake. But we also saw that they kept it, so there is no return rate change. And that means they kind of deliberately bought these products. And then we thought about it, okay, how can products be irrelevant when users buy them? That's kind of a contradiction in the definition of relevancy. And then we started to look at this pattern in other examples. Here is the MacBook Pro. At the moment at OTTO, when you search for MacBook Pro, you will find MacBook Neo and MacBook Air in the top 10. And that is not because our models are too bad. That's because we look at interaction data in our ranking. And when you look at the interaction data, you can see here they create orders and clicks. Of course, the MacBook Pros, the exact hits, the more relevant products generate more of these orders. But the irrelevant products still generate money. So it's not really irrelevant, right? And then we did some more research. We stumbled upon a paper from Amazon. They I think it's also the context of semantic search. They stopped thinking of relevancy in a binary term. They added the substitute and complement classes, which is kind of let's call it semi-relevant. I mean, that you don't use a binary class for relevancy is not that new, but I like this paper because the substitute part really explained what we were looking at. Because a guy's shoe and a women's sneaker query is a substitute. MacBook Air for a MacBook Pro query is also a substitute. And especially semantic search engines, they're a bit fuzzy. It seems like they're good at finding this kind of substitute products. And that means you can't just look at the product doesn't match the query. That can't be your only criteria to decide whether a product is relevant or not. So we basically have two different ways of defining relevancy. We have the explicit relevant way, which is basically saying, does the product match the query, yes or no? And you have implicit signals like the user interaction data. And the green and the red box, that is the no-brainer. If they agree these two approaches, then nothing to talk about. But the orange boxes are interesting. And the lower orange box is exactly what we found. So we have the products that look irrelevant, the products where users look at and stakeholders as well and say what's going on there, that is wrong. but the interaction data is telling a different story. So that kind of explains what we were seeing, but it doesn't really explain why users are acting like that. And now we come to our theory part. This is just like our approach how to explain it. And so basically is we take the query is like a proxy for the user intent. So I want to buy something, then I have to think about how to formulate it in a query and send it. When we look at explicit relevance judgments, it's like the combination of does it match the query? And we think, or we assume, that the query is a representation of the user intent. But we believe that is not always the case. So for the MacBook Pro example, we definitely have the users that are decided. In the buying process, they made a decision, they want a MacBook Pro, so they search for it and they only want to see the MacBook Pro. But there are also other possible explanations because there are other use cases. One phase of the buying process in theory is like building a consideration set that is for users who haven't made their buying decision. They are looking at candidates, what is relevant and what is not. And these users might search for MacBook Pro as one part of their journey, and maybe in the next query they search for MacBook Air or for Dell or whatever, because they want to learn what are their options. And we believe that for these users, we help them by showing this kind of substitute products in the first query. It can make their journey easier. And the last one, the exploring part, that is like even a bit earlier. If you think of it in a jobs to be done way, maybe users just know they want to have some kind of computer. They haven't decided that it has to be a notebook, maybe even. But how do they start their journey? And that is not always a rational process. Users don't sit down and write a plan how to search for it, not like I start with computer, then I switch to notebook, and then I refine it to get more specific. Maybe my brother got a MacBook Pro. That's the first thing that pops into my mind, so I entered into the search bar. So this is our current theory to explain what's going on here. And that would also explain the stuff we are seeing. So the decided users who really already know what they want to see are the ones that complain. They are the ones that are annoyed. The economic uplift we are seeing might come from the more discovery exploratory use cases, which we kind of enable. And if that is the case, so that explains like everything we've seen. To wrap it up, that would mean like it's not like we built an imprecise retrieval system. We believe that the hybrid search approach, especially the semantic part, enabled this kind of discovery use cases. So the question that we asked before was always, did the result match the query? So it's like a query product fit that we were optimizing for. Now we are asking, did the user find what they needed? And then the optimization target changed a bit. So now we have a user need fit, which is a bit broader. But this is all theory. And we are still learning. We have a lot of question marks, and we are not sure if any of this is true. So a couple of questions we are still having is like, if it's true and it depends on the user intent behind the query, is there any way to identify this? If you only look at the query, that's what we tried with the exact searches, we failed at that. But maybe is possible that could help to optimize the search results, like balance out the substitute and exact matches in a better way. There might also be a way to communicate it better, like more UX, UI areas, because when you see the substitutes, we are pretty sure that raises the cognitive load of users, because for every product you have to scan and decide what kind of relevancy class is that. So maybe you can use some visual or some kind of communication to reduce the irritation but still keep the benefit. We don't know. The metrics question still stands. If you manage to optimize it somehow, no matter how you do it, if you want to measure your success in an outcome way, you need to measure the change in the behavior of the users. And we looked at a lot of metrics, even more than the ones you've seen before, and we didn't find any that is like showed anything. So that's something you have to solve if you want to work further on that. And the last one is the risk part we are facing, because maybe we are just plainly wrong. Maybe the irritation of the users that we see through the explicit feedback is like some kind of a long-term trust loss, which leads to lower usage of our shop. But our A/B testing framework always looks at short slices of time, 2 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. So if users get irritated, our users don't come to visit our shop like once per week. And if it happens to them that they see irrelevant products in the search results and the trust is slowly degrading, we probably won't see it in an A/B test. So maybe we have a blind spot here, but we don't know. That's why we would love to discuss this stuff with you in one of the bar camps, because we are really interested. What kind of hypotheses do you have? Do you have experiences how to optimize? Do you have metrics to measure this stuff? Do you have data on this? That is all, something we want to discuss, because we are kind of, you see, we really dug deep into this stuff, but we are not sure the answers are right. And this is a search community, so maybe you have the answers. Let's talk about this. That's it. Do you have any questions?
Thank you. Yeah, that was my question. So are there any questions?
Thanks, Arne. That was great. On your questions, the first one about can you somehow discover the intent, and it feels that maybe we're moving from a world where we look at click data kind of after the fact and we analyze it in aggregate and we come up with some idea of what people have browsed on and clicked on, hovered on, to a more real-time view of things where we're looking at both the query text and the user behavior at the time. And maybe that might be a way to maybe combine those things into a more, again, a kind of more real-time intent mechanism. So literally as the person does the search, clicks some things, does a facet, reformulates, you change the way the UI behaves because you're thinking, oh, they're doing this kind of journey, they're doing a discovery. Does that sound like a valid approach?
Yes, that sounds very good. It's like more a holistic approach. Not only look at the query, look at the whole session, look at what people really do to, like, from their behavior, try to determine what their intent might be, right?
Yes, but in
real time. In real time. Yeah. That's definitely something we should try. I think it will be very difficult, but I'm super interested in it. Yeah, we did some kind of search session analysis before, and then if you map out how the search sessions really are conducted, you see it's way more chaotic and messy than I enter a query, look at the result, and I buy stuff. It's reformulation back and forth and all this stuff. And I think you're generating a lot of data by this, or the users are generating a lot of data. So I think it's really an opportunity to dig deeper into that to identify the intents, yes.
There was another.
Thanks a lot. We made similar experiences. And did you look at user journeys where users sorted by price, maybe? Because I would think if you activate hybrid search in such user journeys, it really gets annoying if there's too much recall or too many irrelevant products if I sort by price, maybe.
Yeah, we stumbled upon that too. We tried to mitigate it by applying category filters when you sort by price to get rid of a bit of the noise. And that looked kind of okay, but we are still experimenting with this.
Thank you for the talk. I wanted to ask you, because you talk a lot about retrieval, but we have more downstream components like business rules and ranking downstream. So have you worked on having the ranker be aware of the semantic relevance of the items, both the keyword match and vector match? Does that make any difference?
Our ranking is mainly, we use some kind of neural ranking, is trained on the interaction data. We don't feed it the similarity score, I think. I'm looking at Cosima. I think we are not doing that at the moment. Yeah.
Okay.
But I think
we can discuss on the back.
Yeah, that would be interesting.
So there
Yeah, thanks. I'm trying a long time already. Yeah, thank you for presentation. So we will also see similar. We had similar observations where we in the techniques where we increased the recall. What we saw is increased search exit rate. So and in your presentation, I haven't seen your this metric. Do you have this metric? Do you observe? So search exit rate, it's when the user search and then he, for example, irritated and then he leaves immediately. Yeah.
Yes, we looked at that. That is like a complete exit rate from the shop, and we also looked at, are they switching to use other features, like use the navigation instead of the search, or are they reformulating the search? So we kind of looked at all the different paths users can take to reach their goal in different ways, but we didn't see anything so far.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the talk. Maybe a thought from my side, still on the line about understanding users. I receive, when I buy things on e-commerce, once in a while also emails where I can give feedback with a survey or something. Maybe you can target those users who indeed bought something that you wouldn't expect them to buy based on the query, and just put in this form one question about how was your search experience, was the list of products meeting your expectations, and why. I mean, I know you cannot bother too much customers, but maybe just one question in a feedback formula could be useful, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, we kind of tried it in a certain way. So we first of all, we have like a feedback formula on the search result page, so everyone can give direct feedback, but we also played around with the survey. So we picked queries with a very unprecise search result, and then triggered a survey directly after users looked at that to ask them how was the quality. And some of them were really unprecise, like a fridge with a washing machine with 7 kilo, and there are washing machines with 10 kilo or whatever. Like half of the top 10 didn't really match. And the users said in the survey, hey, it's okay. So it's really like, I don't want to sound like we are completely lost, but we really tried a lot of stuff.
Hi, very insightful stuff. One quick idea, focus groups, like maybe you can somehow get more explicit feedback and more of it. Like it reminded me of when I was working with an e-commerce client and my wife was using that very e-commerce site, and the feedback I got from her was nothing like the stuff I was working on. It's like, what is this crap? Basically.
Yeah, that's a good idea. We actually didn't try that yet.
Maybe also a question more technical about what do you store in your vector search, like in your similarity search. Maybe this is also the cause of the problem, that the vector stores too much information or not enough information. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, but that would be the explanation why these results appear. When you talk about how the users interact with them, that doesn't really matter, right? It's not the question how did they get there, but how are users reacting to them? So I'm not sure. I mean, we can discuss a bit more how our technical setup is, but I'm not sure if that is the right direction to find the problem, because we are really on the user focus at the moment.
Any more questions? Okay, so thanks, Arne. You have to pin your topic at the whiteboard now. Thank you. And we will have a break for 10 minutes because Arne was so fast.